Published 0417 the 7th of November 2017. Updated 1031 the 7th of November 2017. President Donald Trump escalated his threats to Kim Jong-un as he held a press conference on the dictator's doorstep Tuesday, saying he was not afraid of using the full range of his nation's unmatched military capabilities. But he also held out an olive branch to the North Korean leader, saying he had seen a lot of progress in dealing with the country. It makes sense for North Korea to come to the table and make a deal that is good for the people of North Korea and for the world, Trump said during a news conference alongside South Korean President Moon Jae-in. I do see certain movement. He added that North Korea's nuclear ambitions ought to have been curbed 25 years ago. This is not the right time to be doing it, but that's what I got. That's what I got, Trump lamented. Both presidents said they are hopeful that worldwide sanctions will bring North Korea to the table. We have many things happening that we hope, in fact they'll go a step further. We hope to God we never have to use, Trump said of a United States military buildup along the Korean peninsula. Scroll down for videos. President Donald Trump lamented Tuesday in South Korea that he has had to spend any time at all on the rogue regime to the nation's north in the first year of his presidency. We cannot allow North Korea to threaten all that we have built, and we have built it very much together, Trump said during a joint press conference with South Korean President Moon Jae-in. The press conference drew harsh words from Trump for Kim Jong-un, the North Korean dictator whose nuclear missile ambitions have become a global headache. South Korean President Moon Jae-in was elected on a platform of re-engaging with North Korea and has repeatedly cautioned against the use of military force. Trump assured Moon that America stands prepared to defend itself and its allies using the full range of our unmatched military capabilities, though hoped the situation would not come to that end. Kim Jong-un's regime is racing to complete a nuclear missile that can reach the United States, prompting Trump to leave all military options on the table. Trump said North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un has to be aware of the United States' unparalleled strength, reminding him that 3 U.S. aircraft carriers and a nuclear submarine would soon be in his backyard. As we work together to resolve this problem using all available tools short of military action, the United States stands prepared to defend itself and its allies using the full range of our unmatched military capabilities, if need be, Trump threatened. The U.S. Navy said Tuesday that aircraft carriers, guided missile destroyers and submarines were on their way to the Pacific for a drill. No reason was provided for the command, CNN reported, although it was an evident show of force just as the president was visiting. Trump said Tuesday during the Seoul press conference that North Korea is a grave nuclear threat to South Korea and indeed the entire world. We cannot allow North Korea to threaten all that we have built, and we have built it very much together, Trump said. We will together confront North Korea's actions and prevent the North Korean dictator from threatening millions of innocent lives. He is indeed threatening millions and millions of lives so needlessly, the U.S. president added in a castigation of Kim. Trump said all nations must cut off North Korea's cash flow by imposing and enforcing international sanctions on Kim and his government. It's time to act with urgency and with great determination, Trump said. Trump said in Tuesday remarks from Seoul that North Korea is a grave nuclear threat to South Korea and indeed the entire world. After holding the press conference, Trump and Moon shared a toast during a state dinner at the presidential Blue House. U.S. President Donald Trump and South Korean President Moon Jae-in meet at the presidential Blue House in Seoul, South Korea Tuesday. President Trump and Moon Jae-in were joined by wives Melania and Kim Jong-suk before the first ladies went to tour the presidential palace and speak with school children. Trump's 11-day tour of Asia takes him to 5 countries. Trump and South Korean President Moon Jae-in posed prior to their meeting at presidential Blue House in Seoul. South Koreans demonstrating against their northern neighbors welcomed President Trump to Seoul on Tuesday. The president's motorcade had bypassed crowds of well-wishers after he arrived in Seoul on Tuesday. Earlier in the day, President Trump and Moon had taken a friendship walk through the grounds of the presidential Blue House. Children greeted the two presidents as they took their walk before Melania Trump arrived to speak with them later in the day. Trump and Moon also shook hands ahead of a round of bilateral talks after making their way inside the Blue House. Moon told reporters that he strongly urges North Korea to halt its nuclear and missile provocation, and to come to a dialogue table for denuclearization as soon as possible. He said his strategy, and Trump's, is to maximize pressure and sanctions on North Korea until it gives up nuclear weapons, and to come to the table for dialogue on its own. Earlier Tuesday, in South Korea, Trump said he was optimistic about his chances to stop North Korea from deploying a nuclear missile capable of reaching America's allies. I think we're going to have lots of good answers for you over a period of time, and ultimately it will all work out, Trump said before a military operational briefing at Camp Humphreys, near Seoul. It always works out. It has to work out. North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un hasn't carried out a ballistic missile test since September, but there are real concerns at the Pentagon that he might conduct a test launch while Trump is nearby. His previous tests have flown in the direction of Guam, a U.S. island territory, and directly over Japan. Trump's appearance Tuesday afternoon in South Korea marked his arrival in the second of 5 nations on his expansive Asian itinerary. Air Force One landed at the Osan Air Base shortly after noon, greeted by a 21-cannon salute and a full honor guard. Trump receives a briefing from U.S. and South Korean military commanders at the U.S. 8th Army Operation Command Center. Ultimately, it will all work out, President Trump said Tuesday. Of the nuclear standoff brewing with North Korea, it always works out. It has to work out. The president shook hands with South Korean Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa, kissed First Lady Melania goodbye, and boarded a military helicopter with Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. The pair then had a short hop to Camp Humphreys, the nearby U.S. Army garrison. Trump saluted and greeted both American and South Korean military officers and senior enlisted personnel before boarding an armored limousine for a short ride across the tarmac to a waiting lunch. "I had a choice of having a beautiful, very fancy lunch, and I said no, I want to eat with the troops. And we ate with the troops," Trump said proudly. "And it was good eating. It was good eating. And I tell you, they've done a terrific job. Very impressive." South Korean President Moon Jae-in joined him at the Mesha lunch. "Hello everybody," Trump boomed after he was greeted by applause. "Good food," he said. The president stayed only a short time at the lunch before the military briefing, which included National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster and retired Marine Gen. John Kelly, who is now the White House Chief of Staff. A pair of South Korean generals also took part, along with the head of U.S. forces in Korea, Gen. Vincent Brooks. The president will later sit down with Moon at the Blue House, the nation's presidential mansion, for bilateral talks in advance of a joint press conference later in the day. North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un's territory starts just 35 miles from South Korea's capital, putting South Korea in the position of having to be a front-row spectator as the nuclear status of its belligerent neighbor is decided by other countries. This July 28, 2017 picture released from North Korea's state-run news agency shows Kim Jong-un's Hwasong-14 intercontinental ballistic missile ICBM being launched at an undisclosed place in North Korea. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump arrived Tuesday afternoon in South Korea, the second of 5 nations, on his Asian itinerary this week and next. Trump will be in the Seoul area for barely 24 hours, but he will cast a 6'2" shadow on the communist nation to the north. He has clear differences with Moon, both on managing the North Korean nuclear standoff and on tense negotiations over a trade deal that the White House says harms American workers. Either crisis would be fodder enough for bilateral talks, a joint press conference and a speech to South Korea's National Assembly. But the Onetwa punch will make Trump's brief time in the land of the morning calm unlike his 2-day stop in Japan, a longer stop that already has South Koreans feeling like Trump is playing favorites. In addition to direct talks with Moon, the president also plans to visit a U.S. military base to the south of Seoul, and will hail its operation as a positive example of burden sharing since South Korea pays for some of its expenses, including the cost of relocating American troops there. Trump's unsteady relations with the liberal South Korean president, whom he called a fine gentleman in a lukewarm Tuesday morning tweet, could lead to uncomfortable moments unlike any witnessed as he brewed a warm bromance with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe on Sunday and Monday. The consequences of an arm's-length relationship between Washington and Seoul could be destructive for both nations. South Korea hosts more than 28,000 U.S. military troops and counts on the United States to insulate it from potential North Korean attacks. The world will be carefully watching the commander-in-chief and his North Korean counterpart this week for signs of new ad hominem attacks. Trump and Kim have engaged in a war of words this year, sparked by the U.S. president's threat to totally destroy Kim's country if he doesn't stop testing nuclear-capable missiles and conducting underground atomic bomb tests. The president shook a few hands and then kissed Melania goodbye before boarding a military helicopter for a short hop to nearby Camp Humphreys for lunch with the troops and a military operational briefing. Trump, center-right, and First Lady Melania Trump are welcomed by South Korean Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa upon arrival at Osan Air Base in Pyeongtaek, South Korea. Tuesday, Trump has taken to calling him Little Rocket Man. In response, Kim called Trump a frightened dog and a gangster fond of playing with fire in an official statement. The Trans-Pacific game of nuclear chicken has made the South Korean government nervous. Seoul itself sits just 35 miles from the border, and 25 million people live in its metropolitan expanses. Even without nuclear weapons, South Korea is already in Kim's striking range. For this reason, and because he considers Trump unpredictable, Moon wants the U.S. to transfer control of South Korea's troops back to his government. Under current agreements, South Korean forces would be under U.S. command if the North were to resume the war that ended with a 1953 armistice. Trump surprised some politics watchers over the weekend when he told a TV interviewer that he would be open to conducting direct talks with Kim, saying on Sinclair Broadcast Group's Full Measure program that he would be happy to sit down with anybody. Police block protesters against U.S. President Donald Trump waiting for Trump's motorcade to pass by in central Seoul, South Korea. Not everyone was pleased to see Trump arrive in Seoul, as protesters gathered with pictures of him and Kim Jong-un. Activists accuse President Trump of inflaming tensions with North Korea and worry his actions will lead them into a war. North Korean despot Kim Jong-un is pictured inspecting an ICCM in this undated photo released by North Korea's state-run news agency. And Jewel, you don't think it's strength or weakness? I think sitting down with people is not a bad thing, he said. So I would certainly be open to doing that, but we'll see where it goes. I think we're far too early. After Trump threatened fire and fury against Pyongyang in August, Moon touted publicly that no one should be allowed to decide on a military action on the Korean peninsula without South Korean agreement. The U.S. Defense Department has raised the strategic temperature by telling lawmakers that a ground invasion would be the only way to ensure with complete certainty that North Korea couldn't use nuclear weapons against the West. On Monday in Tokyo, Trump branded North Korea a menace and said the U.S. stands against the rogue regime's dangerous aggressions. Some people said that my rhetoric is very strong. But look what's happened with very weak rhetoric over the last 25 years. Look where we are right now, the president said during a press conference with Abe. He said it at the Yokota Air Base near Tokyo that the U.S. will never yield, never waver and never falter in defense of our people. No one, no dictator, no regime and no nation, should underestimate, ever, American resolve.